Nowadays, hip hop media is run by this.
It's Drake, 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 Drake.
The problem with names like these is that they have centered everything around drama and clickbait news. From instigating rap beefs to blowing scandals out of proportion, these people and outlets have forgotten to talk about what actually matters in a music genre: the music. From here, this will change. Welcome to the Fantastic Hip Hop Show, a series dedicated to documenting the beauty of the genre we all know and love. In today's episode, we are going to be recapping everything that happened in the month of September for hip hop, along with going over the best rapper of every single month this year, along with some other special segments along the way. Now, the most essential building block of hip hop culture are always the albums being released. So to start this series off, we will look at every significant record that was released in September so you can find out what records you need to listen to and what you should stay away from. Kicking things off with the worst album of the month, we got DaBaby's Baby on Baby 2. From top to bottom, this record is a clout-chasing, washed-up train wreck, and in my eyes, this solidifies the end of DaBaby's career as a chart-topping force in the rap game as a whole. For all these reasons, I have given this record one of the worst ratings I ever have, with an awful and abysmal 1 out of 10. Before we look at any other albums, I want to say going forward, these ratings are just my opinions on how good these albums are, and that's it. Feel free to disagree with me, and let me know your thoughts on any of these albums in the comments below. The second worst release of September was YG's record, I Got Issues. Now, even for somebody who has been on a steep decline since 2018, this is a new career low for a rapper who was once bound to become a part of West Coast hip-hop royalty. Outside of the final 2 tracks, every song on this album is straight out bad, suffering from YG's terrible hooks, cliche writing, and over-reliance on the most bland West Coast bounce beats. The only saving grace of this record is the Nas feature on the track No Weapon, but overall, just skip this album in its entirety. It is not worth your time whatsoever, and that's why I've only given it a score of a 1.2. From 2019 to now, East G has continued to climb up the industry ranks, featuring on tracks from Future, Moneybagg Yo, and Lil Baby to name a few. The rapper's newest album, I Never Felt None, is supposed to show East G kicking down the door and standing tall as one of the best new artists in hip-hop, but in reality, this album is just really 21 songs worth of bland trap cuts. There are some solid songs hidden within this way too drawn-out experience, and features from Future, Jeezy, Jack Harlow, Bryson Tiller, and even Machine Gun Kelly are exciting to hear, but overall, this record is just super run-of-the-mill, and that's why I have given it a score of a 3.5 out of 10. Before we get into this next album, I want to make it clear that the late prodigy of Mobb Deep is an all-time legend, and that's why this album is even more hard to talk about. Now, the first Helligan Dialect was a weak project and Prodigy's worst record in either his group or solo efforts, so when I found out we were getting a sequel to this 5 years after his passing, I was not hyped at all, and I had no positive expectations. While I will say this record manages to outdo its predecessor, and it does have some moments that have glimpses of Prodigy's greatness, the album feels like a huge slap in the face to Prodigy's legacy. Majority of the songs on this project feel so out of character between the trap beats and the lovey-dovey songwriting, which is just so weak and off-putting. When looking at this record in the grand picture of it all, I really wish we never got it in any shape or form, as this coming out as a posthumous release, it just leaves Prodigy's remembrance in a light that does not feel authentic to both his career or his character as an MC, and this is why I've given this LP a 3.8 out of 10. Tory Lanez' new album, Sorry for What, is his most complete and well-rounded project since early 2020's The New Toronto 3. While the Toronto artist's most recent releases have been almost full R&B efforts, he captures the perfect blend of his rapping and singing abilities to make an experience that is always on its feet. While Tory's writing could have been less mind-numbing at times, especially considering that the tracklist is very long, he really nailed the entire aesthetic of this project, and its blend of styles will keep this record in a lot of people's rotations for quite some time. For all these reasons, I have given this album a solid score of a 5.4 out of 10. While Yeat has grown into one of the hottest names in hip-hop right now, the excitement you can find in a single song from him has never translated into a full-length experience for me. Take an album like earlier this year, 2 Alive. 20 songs is just way too much for an artist who offers no depth, and while riding over these spacey, distorted trap beats is a style that is new and refreshing to the overall hip hop scene, he has not spent enough time fine tuning this sound to make it remarkable. While the heart of these issues are not solved here, Yeat's newest project, Life, is hands down his best record in my eyes due to its exciting high points and relatively short runtime. With just 12 songs, a fantastic Lil Uzi Vert feature, and some of the craziest beats Yeat has ever written over, this is a fairly solid record and a perfect gateway into his music. For all these factors, I have given Yeat's Life a score of a 5.7 out of 10. When teaming up with the legendary Madlib, the stakes are always high on any MC to deliver a one-of-a-kind experience, and for the trio of California Underground legends MED, Deck Lane, and LMNO, they undersell how great of a soundscape Madlib put together for them on their record Flying High. Over an assortment of beautifully crafted loops, the trio does hit the bar of what makes a palatable hip-hop experience with their well-written verses and working in unison overall, but the structure of each track, along with the very passive style of the trio, makes a lot of this record just hit below the belt for the amount of talent it has on it, which leaves this album with a score of a 5.9 out of 10. On Pierre Bourne's newest record, Good Movie, the rapper-producer once again traps us inside of a universe with his cutting-edge production and glitchy musical environments. He ties all of this together nicely with the record revolving around a heartbreak that he is trying to cope with, and while this album lacks in the twists and turns to justify its over hour-long length, the record is another marvelous display on musical world building and another piece that shows hip-hop why Pierre Bourne is such a generational talent. For all these reasons, this album has earned a score of a 6 out of 10 in my eyes. After being the laughingstock of the rap game for years, Nav finally got sick of all of the memes and gave us a really solid record in Demons Protected by Angels. Even with its hefty price tag of 19 songs and 52 minutes, this record is hardly a drag with its exciting collaborations from artists like Lil Uzi Vert, Future, Travis Scott, and topping off all of the star power, Nav holds this record together with the most lively and animated vocal performance he could possibly put together. Now, with this record filled with flashy, in-your-face trap beats, which are done by both Nav himself and producers like Boy Da One and Mike Dean, this record is hands down Nav's best album since 2017, and it has earned him an amazing score for Nav standards of a 6.1 out of 10. I would have never have guessed that Nav would have made a record this good. This is honestly the biggest surprise of the year, and it's really good. Coming off a career-altering run that has featured him on songs like Dreamville's Stick and JID's Dance Now, 27-year-old Atlanta rapper Kenny Mason delivers listeners a 16-track mixtape that further unleashes his enraged side through his knack for creativity and innovation. Between the rock-infused hypertrap bangers, standard melodic anthems, and deep lyrical reflections which are sprinkled in throughout, Ruffs has a lot to offer musically, but in its 46-minute runtime, it does have its fair share of chaotic moments with its unhinged turns and consistent change of pace. Even with this said, the artistic explosion we see through Kenny's signature charisma makes this a record that anyone investing in hip-hop's future should check out, and all of this puts it at a score of a 6.2 out of 10. Kid Cudi's long-awaited Intergalactic is not the multifaceted epic that Man on the Moon 3 was, but its otherworldly sound along with Cudi's soul-healing vocals puts you inside of a world that is truly a joy to engulf in, and all of its beauty gives it a solid score of a 6.4 out of 10. On You Wasn't There, the legendary Cameron teams up with Montreal-based producer A-Track, where he demolishes the producer's soulful beats. In this 27-minute experience, we witness Killer Cam appreciate all that he's accomplished in the past, while also being able to move on from being a musical superstar and taking on new responsibilities in his life with the utmost grace and joy. Between the maturity Cam shows and the skill and hunger he shows he still has as an MC, this record has earned a score of a 6.7 out of 10, and I definitely look forward to seeing what Cameron has to do next and what producers he may team up with. Through the magic of some amazing spacey trap beats and well-exerted ghostly vocals, Chicago rapper Lucky makes Flawless Like Me one of the best trap albums of the entire 2020s. Now, for a trap album that's 22 tracks and 50 minutes long, you would expect there to be a lot more filler, but this is far from the case. Lucky understands the world he is building through his uncanny vocals and lathers every corner of this record in his signature style. If you're looking for a trap record to vibe out and get lost in, you will find nothing better this year than Flawless Like Me, and all of its beauty gives it a score of a 7.2 out of 10. If you've been listening to hip hop since the turn of the decade, you probably know who Boldy James is. With albums produced by The Alchemist, Real Bad Man, Jay Versace, and Sterling Tolls, the Detroit MC's collaborative run has been something we have never seen before. And when it comes to his newest album, Fair Robbery No Exchange, he continues to uplift his reputation and heighten how good this run has really been. From Boldy's side of the spectrum, he's just running through his typical bag of tricks with his bars about the lavish and dark sides of his life, but what changes up the presentation of this record is the production from Montreal's Nicholas Craven. He knits these perfectly fitted beats for Boldy to release his jagged bars and assassin style of rapping through, and this chemistry adds another solid record to their collection with a score of a 7.3 out of 10. Freddie Gibbs' highly anticipated album Soul Sold Separately delivers in nearly every sense of the word with a handful of his best moments ever. From personal career reflections to legendary collaborations with Pusha T, Rick Ross, and DJ Paul, Soul Sold Separately captures the Gary, Indiana native's greatness as a braggadocious gangster rapper and as a man doing his best to grow and improve as a person. All of this has resulted in another strong entry in Gibbs' catalog with a score of a 7.4 out of 10. Calling underground hip-hop king Billy Woods a rapper at this point feels like an undersell of his greatness. Woods' constant precision with wordplay, production, and overall storytelling makes him feel like a musical architect, and these abilities are once again on full display on his second release of 2022, Church. Now, as with all Billy Woods records, this album is dark and unforgiving, and with the record focusing on the concept of destruction and how we are raised in a society where no matter on what level, we are always seeing somebody tear down someone or something to shreds. With all of the production done by frequent collaborator Messiah Music, Woods flows over the abstractly molded, rambunctious instrumental seamlessly, and his ideas unfold, leaving listeners walking away mind-blown once again. As a result of this precision, Billy Woods continues his amazing album streak with a score of a 7.6 out of 10. Over the past few years, both Pink Sifu and Real Bad Man have gotten better and better with each record they have released, and with their first ever collaborative effort, Real Bad Flights, both artists have reached a new high. The duo plays off one another so well, with the faint delivery and lyrically sharp style of Sifu matching up so well with Badman's production style, while on Real Badman's last album, Killing Season, with Boldy James, he kept things pretty tight with a hard-hitting sonic palette. Badman pushes his skills in a magnitude of directions here, ranging from the flute-based instrumental that makes Tokyo Blunt such a standout to the twisted soul sample that sinks into listeners' hearts on Poe Drama. With all of this and perfectly fitted features from Boldy James, Arm & Hammer, and Chuck Stranger, to name a few, this is definitely one of the best collab records hip-hop has seen all year, and I've given it a score of a 7.7 because of this. On his Griselda Records debut, Kiss the Ring, Rome Street proves that he is big enough for any moment as he delivers the greatest performance of his career with his flashy lyricism, fierce swagger, and desire to dominate the competition. Between the combination of Rome's braggadocious lyrical daggers and the hard-hitting yet lavish instrumentals from producers like Conductor Williams, Denny LaFleur, and The Alchemist, the core of this record is built so strongly, and on top of all this, the entire Griselda cast, ranging from Benny the Butcher to Armani Caesar, deliver great feature verses. Now, with all of this record foreseen by Westside Gunn, who executive produced the project, everything is arranged in a way that boils this entire record into one unforgettable, cohesive gangster rap experience, and all of this is why Kiss the Ring has the highest score of September with a 7.8 out of 10, and because of all of this, it will be the first ever album of the month in this series. And finally, while I will not be giving this album a score out of 10, as it's simply a live version of a record that was already released this year, Denzel Curry's Melt My Eyes, See Your Future Expanded Edition is a must-listen from September with its beautiful live sound, which makes the record the greatest jazz rap experience hip-hop has seen in some time. Moving on from here, we will be looking at September's Monthly Quotable, which goes out to the best verse of the month, and for our first ever recipient of this award, it goes to Freddie Gibbs and his verse off Soul Sold Separately's Rabbit Vision. Freddie Gibbs' most recent album contains some of his best and most personal moments to date, but when it comes to soul lyrical passages, this is arguably his best ever with a single extended verse where Fred analyzes various fallouts in his life. He looks at how quickly the playing field has changed between people ranging from his old friends to his former boss in Jeezy. The honesty Gibbs shows in this verse is super genuine, and it all comes together so powerfully as we see him in such a vulnerable light, admitting to the flaws which have spawned out of his own actions and failures. The entire verse is written as a self-reflection of Freddie's thoughts, and that's why it works so well. The tight storytelling and interconnectedness of each line layers this verse where it can be the glue of an entire track, and it does not need any bridge or hook. I mean, just read a bar like, "A lot of shit broke my heart but fixed my vision." You could hear the passion Freddie put into this verse as he challenges us as listeners to examine ourselves through his own reflections and battles. This level of depth and lyrical power is why Freddie Gibbs walks away with the first ever monthly quotable. Since this is the debut episode of this series, before we get into September's Rapper of the Month, we will be looking at the best rapper of every month of the year so far, which starting off with January, we have Earl Sweatshirt. Earl takes the crown here because of his fourth studio album, Sick, which was not just the first time we've received a project from him since 2019, but it changed the trajectory of his career, welcoming us to an era where he's spiritually healed and ready to experiment and play with new sounds, all while still remaining as one of the best lyricists in the game. In February, we have Conway the Machine, and he takes the crown here due to his career-defining Shady Records release, God Don't Make Mistakes. Now, on this album, Conway once again showed us why they call him the grimiest of all time, but he adds layers that we've never seen from him through his breathtaking ability to unravel his darkest secrets and stories. It's truly amazing. The Rapper of the Month for March is hands down Denzel Curry, who blew us away with arguably his best album yet, Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. This record gave us a whole new side of Denzel where he did not just rap about the troubles he witnesses through his own eyes, but he depicts to us how they affect his mental state and how he does his best to cope with all that's wrong in both himself and our world. For April, our Rapper of the Month is underground mastermind Billy Woods, who released another one of his best albums, Ethiops. From this record's abstract instrumentals and eerie atmosphere to Billy's lyrical performance, which is pressed together with impossible to solve questions and harsh realizations about our world, this record is truly amazing, and while there are some other strong competitors this month like Pusha T, the crown has to go to Billy. Even with a rapper like Yasin Bey releasing his first album since 2009, the Rapper of the Month for May has to go to Kendrick Lamar, who blew us away with The Heart Part 5, which is hands down one of the best hip-hop songs we have seen in a long time, and then also the entirety of Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, which was just a complete reawakening, not just for Kendrick's career, but for the state of hip-hop as a whole. The Rapper of the Month for June goes to another one of hip-hop's elite songwriters and conceptualists, Lupe Fiasco. Lupe released his brutally honest commentary on today's state of hip-hop and the music industry as a whole in Drill Music and Zion. The record's core themes are centered around the abuse that the music industry causes on most of its artists, and the way we are able to understand this from an outsider's view is through Lupe's godly lyrical ability and next-level storytelling, which paint a picture that he's trying to show in the most well-thought-out and thought-provoking manner we have seen from an MC in a very long time. July's Rapper of the Month is Joey Badass, who once again reclaimed his throne amongst the very best rappers out right now with the lyrical storm and callback and career celebration that is 2000. Now, for the month of August, we have a tie between JID and Black Thought, who both released two of the best albums of the year in The Forever Story and Black Thought's Danger Mouse collaboration, Cheat Codes. The sheer passion, heart, and fire that went into these MCs' latest works makes these records two of the most inspiring and magnificent records that we've seen in recent memory, and this is why I cannot pick one over the other. For the month of September, the newest Rapper of the Month is Billy Woods, and while Rome Streets had the best album this month, I had to give it to Billy for his amazing lyrical and narrative performance on his latest album, Church. So there you have it. Everything you need to know about hip-hop this month and who the best rappers of every month this year have been. Thank you all for tuning into this episode. We also had a special interview planned, but because of scheduling issues, that won't be seen until next episode, which will recap the month of October, amongst many other things. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you can see that episode once it drops. There have been a lot of good albums in October, and you're definitely not going to want to miss that. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to leave a comment below on what else you want to see in this series. And Mr. Fantastic, Fantastic Hip Hop, signing out. Have a great day.